Yes, guys, it is Suki, Matt, and Michael for BTS TV, Men's Physique TV, with Men's Physique news, all things Men's Physique, and of course, there's only one guest we really could get that could stay unbiased for this one. It's the Arnold's recap. This guy, I mean, you sent me a few pictures. You were like just ahead of the judges for the
Yeah.
Arnold's. It's of course Mr. Olympia, two-time champion, the reigning defending champion, Ryan Terry.
Hello, guys. It's good to be on.
I mean, look, guys, let's get straight to it
Yes.
because we had we had the record last week with Jeremy Buendia. I know
Yeah.
a lot of the talks was Ali Bilal, Erin Banks, Diego. Who's the one that's going to take the win? We know
Yeah.
there's some big shows coming up and running, and of course, it's all roads to Olympia after we get past the next few months.
Yeah.
I'll throw it to you three. Who was the one that impressed you the most?
Go on, boys. You were there.
All
So you
right, you were there, so
So,
let's go
so,
for it.
so for me personally, I wouldn't say he impressed me the most because I expected it, but Ali turned up flawless. Like he looked phenomenal. He definitely made improvements since obviously Olympia. Had a lot of momentum going into that show, a lot of expectation. So to have that type of pressure on him to go into it, that adds even in itself a lot of stress and whatever. And I think he handled it well. So he looked phenomenal. If I'm honest, Erin was better. I think it's probably the best he's looked, which is quite scary in the fact that he's obviously Ali beats him when he was at his best. His conditioning was brilliant. I think he looked great. Diogo for me, I love Diogo. Got a lot of time for Diogo. I think like his shape is phenomenal. His X shape. He just when you were stood next to them two, he wasn't seen through his midsection. I think that's what really damaged him next to Erin and Ali.
His back looked insane. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, he did.
detail back was perfect. I
Yeah,
really wish he brought that core he did from last year. Like that Arnold core was like in the first, I believe, yeah, that one was probably the best I ever saw.
yeah, I agree. But I think if you look at, like you say, the likes of Erin's, like his obliques and his intercostals, and just how they pop without even having to tense, like he's up against that now. And obviously, Erin's the same. He's got a very symmetrical midsection and whatnot. Diogo, like I say, his back was so improved from last time we saw him. It was just hard not to gravitate towards Ali. It's just one that you can't deny that. So, it, I'm not going to lie, absolutely. I had to stand. I was sat with Jay, and I had to sit there because all the cameras kept panning to Jay and stuff like. So I had to sit there with a smile on my face, and but all the while I was just getting so revved up that I just wanted to go to the gym there and then. I was like, look, I need to work. Let's get to work. It really did like motivate the hell out of me watching that.
Well, let's just bring up, and Matt, Michael, really keen to hear your thoughts here. All the talk as well was about Ali. How much better could he be with only 4 or 5 months in between the Olympia and the Arnold? And of course, the biggest topic was going to be we know he's going to nail his condition, that'll be flawless. But when he turns to the back, when he turns on the rear, are we going to see something that could put him as a potential contender to go head to head with Ryan again in 2025? Michael, when we're seeing this right now from the back, did we see the improvements that we thought we were going to see?
I think a little bit. I mean, he's at the weight cap, so this is where I think it's really strategic. I know he wants to compete, which is great for the sport. But there's also, he's going to have to put some size on, right? And then he's going to have to refine that size and come down properly and not drastically. So I don't think it's a major improvement to his back, honestly. I think he looks fuller. I think he squared up better in his front pose, which made him even look much wider and bigger from the front. You can
Great.
see he just looks really, really open. And he did that really well, especially against Erin. Erin still kind of stands a little sideways,
Yeah,
and he needs to learn how to open up like Ali does in that front shot. Because
yeah.
obviously Aaron's a much bigger guy. I mean, we're talking about 30 pounds on the body and the frame. But
Mike, can I
he's
ask
not
you?
enough yet.
Can I
I
ask?
don't think so.
What's your thoughts on Erin standing straight on? Because Erin to me has a very symmetrical midsection, tiny waist, and like if he's to go up against Ali on a side shot, you're going up against one of the best obliques intercostals in the world. So for me, I would consider
I
going straight on. So then you can you know what I mean, hold your own in the front. But then is he too tall to then would he get lost straight on? It's
I think if he can keep that waist tight and tapered and keep just conditioning that waist and getting more wider at the top,
yeah,
he's going to make Ali look thicker in the midsection. I mean, look at right here. He's almost got it there, but he's still look how squared Ali is. And this is a great video, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah.
Look how squared Ali is, and he just it's like he takes that waist and tightens it like a wet rag. Like that's conditioning. That's hours and hours of holding your poses. Now, see Banks, he does it better over there, but he's already got moved out. When he's on the left side, always, I think because the way he's posing on an angle, he thinks he is more squared. But when he goes to his opposite side of the way he's posing, he always tends to square up more than when he is on the left side of the stage. If you see right there where he started, he was more of an angle because he thinks he's angled into the judge. Then when he goes onto the other side, he squares up a lot better. So he's going to do it right here. Watch.
It's a really good question by you, Ryan, to be fair, because when they turn around to the back, if you compare Erin's waist to Ali's back, like Erin's waist is tiny.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You definitely get away with it, like standing a bit more straight on.
Yeah. He's got a better waist. He's got a better back. He's got better density.
That's the thing. They say it shows a woman from the back. So when Erin hits that back shot, you're like, wow, lights out from the back. But I say from the front, he's not weak. Like Erin's not weak in a lot of areas I don't see. So it's like, why is he trying to hide that? But am I saying something was going to be detrimental to me in Olympia if it's done straight on a big whoa.
I have a question for you two boys because you were there. When we were watching it on the live stream, Erin looked, to me, considerably better at the finals.
Yeah.
And at prejudging, he kind of was on the outside. He was looking like he was in third place. And then obviously in the finals, he got moved in and then he got second. Was he a lot better at finals?
I'm going to just put something controversial in there then. So I feel that it was Diogo faded a little bit. Like I think Erin looked just as good. I think he held it and looked good. In my opinion, he didn't pop as much, Diogo, again in the midsection for finals. And like I could hear little bits, and it was like that's exactly what they were kind of looking at. It was like he was fading, and Erin was still tight and whatnot. And that's kind of where he dropped in the finals, dropped places.
Gotcha. Because I haven't seen the scorecard, so I don't know how close it was between those two.
Yeah. I haven't. I saw obviously Ali got straight first, I think, didn't he? But I've not seen. I was a bit shocked, if I'm honest. I know this is going out of the top four. I was expecting more from Ryan, Ryan Clark, because there was a lot of like, he's got such a nice shape to him. I didn't see it. I didn't see like him not being in the top five, but obviously I think he got sixth, didn't he? That was a bit of a shocker for me. Emmanuel Costa looked great, by the way. You could really see. But then I think he looks great all the time. I think he's just starting to get seen now. Like I think at the last Olympia he looked phenomenal. I remember seeing him at last Arnold, and he said he
was peeled. Yeah, he was peeled, but Cut. I have to say, I got to give flowers to Cuts on this. He's done a really good job with him.
Yeah.
He just needs to, which I spoke to Cuts about this. He needs to fix his front pose. See his elbows being pushed out. If he would stay more like Ali and relax his elbows and just let his arms fall on his lats, he'll look a lot thicker. His chest will look a lot better. There is a picture where Cuts posted of him and Emmanuel in the posing room at the Arnold.
Yeah.
And he looks crazy just standing there with his lats a little flared open. He looks bubbly in the chest. Shoulders are look more capped. So I think if he posed better, it would have got him higher. No, I don't think he was. I don't think anybody was cracking that top three at this show.
Agreed.
But I had him. My top five prediction exactly went the way it did with the top three. But I had Emmanuel Costa fifth, and I had Ryan Clark to be fourth.
Okay.
It's funny you bring up Emmanuel Costa's posing because I was on a podcast yesterday with some IFBB pros here in the UK, and we all said the same thing. His posing does look like it was potentially a little bit awkward in that front shot, but the one guy that I think his posing hurt him the most was actually Sidi. I don't know if you guys agree.
Yeah. But he struggled with that. I feel like he struggled with that in previous shows. He did look more improved, but I agree. Yeah, he needs some work on that. He's a bit stiff, isn't he, from the front?
He looked amazing until he started posing.
Yeah.
He walked out and I was like, wow, I said he's on. And then, yeah, he just hit that front shot. And I think he hit it with two hands off, didn't he? I've never seen him hit it like that. I don't think
Yeah.
it really suited him. And I
Yeah.
think, did he come like seventh or eighth? I was expecting to see him a little bit higher, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because when
Yeah.
he's at the Spain shows, like, or the shows in Europe, like he smashes it. He's really good. Like he's won multiple shows, but and then he fixed it in finals. So he went back to his old shot in the finals, I think. Here, so someone
Right.
must have spoke to him.
What was the usually when someone is maybe is so dominant on the day, you could tell for the atmosphere when you are watching, what the audience is saying, the audience may be gasping when a certain person comes out, they're like, wow, shock factor. What was the audience, what was the atmosphere like when it did come down to that final four of Ali, Diogo, Emmanuel, and Erin? Was the audience, were they going towards a single person, or did they feel that it was open?
So I'll be honest, I was the president for the finals. So I was working the booths and I was doing a lot of things in the pre-judges. So for the finals, it was kind of, I won't say it was a done deal, but it was very cutthroat that Ali had won it. So they kind of expected that and whatever. So I didn't really see anything from the pre-judging. I'm sure that would have been a very different atmosphere in that. But yeah, I wasn't in there for pre-judging. So, but for finals, it was kind of expected. There was a bit of I wouldn't say uproar, but a bit of excitement, obviously, when Erin came into second. But that kind of at any show, isn't it? When it's a bit of a shock from prejudging to finals for changing, it's the crowd do obviously pick up a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess the question now is, we're 11 weeks out from Pittsburgh, and we
Yes,
know that's the next showdown where
this is
Erin will go up against Ali again.
10 weeks.
But of course, we can't forget Brandon
right.
Hendricks is back as well. Now, my first question here is, and I
Yeah.
think you've already touched it in regards to Erin's posing. What can Erin do in that time to ensure it gives him the best shot to try and take down the guy who's already beaten him in Ali Bilal?
Well,
Yeah, Erin's on the back foot now, unfortunately. Like I say, Erin's a Mr. Olympia. He's an Arnold Classic champion. But obviously, you've got Ali, who is the favourite now going in. He's beat him second at the Olympia now. He's got a lot of momentum. So that's going to be, he's got to bring in something major. I think his conditioning's good. I think, like you say, Michael, it's probably down to his posing, which he needs to maybe refine and see if that's what the judges want. But I spoke to Erin and I said, you need to speak to the judges and see what it is you're missing. They're always open. Steve's open to giving you feedbacks. What helped me win the Olympia was getting feedback for the first time in a decade of ever doing it.
I'll tell you some of the feedbacks that, obviously I get
Yeah.
to speak to some of the judges here and there.
Yeah.
Feedback is what they wanted to see was just a little drier in the back. That was it. They didn't mention the posing. They didn't mention, which honestly, I'll be honest with you guys. And this happens at the Arnold a lot. And even when I coach Emmanuel Hunter, I've had some issues with this at the Arnold where if you have a gloss just being put on you, look how glossy his back looks here.
Yeah.
And I had a guy that won the amateur part and won his pro card. And even he looked extremely glossy. I have pictures from him outside before I put the gloss on.
Yeah.
And then pictures of him when he's on the stage when it has LED tint to it. Because if you look at the lights at the Arnold, they had LEDs mixed in with other lights. So with I hate to say this, but with some of the black guys, when they have that gloss on, his back looks a little wet. But I saw Erin's back. Cut sent me the pictures before he got on stage. I was like, dude, he's on, man. Just keep him right there. He's dry. I see grain. And you just couldn't see that on the stage. And I'm not blaming it on the gloss or the tan or anything like that. But he was his best. Like I think you said it, Ryan. It was the best Erin I saw from fullness in the chest by far.
Yeah.
Posing definitely needs to be tweaked in the front shot, but his back, remember like a couple of shows, he was not hitting his back right. He fixed that.
Yeah.
So I think he fixed almost everything besides, that front pose. So I think if he poses right, opens up, changes, maybe his tanning a little bit and like make that back look a little dry. But listen, Ali is the most conditioned guy in the show, along with Diogo. I think they're right there. And Emmanuel Costa, actually.
Yeah.
A little drier, yes. I think he can be a little drier, but I think he was.
I think everything makes a difference at this level, doesn't it? Now, like the you can't differentiate even like the top five, even in the like the Olympia. like it could have gone any way, like because the conditioning now is there. Like I used to stand out from the crowd because of my conditioning. I was always the smallest on stage, that kind of stuff. But that conditioning used to pull me through, and it still does to some degree. But it's not
Look,
about
you can
that because
see it.
everybody's got that now. Everybody's got the size and the condition. They've got the shape, and everyone's filtering through now. That it's just getting the competition is phenomenal now. It's not going to be an easy run. It's not going to be an outright win for most people. And for me, I'm excited to see. Obviously, I'm flying to Pittsburgh to see this. I want to see this. So with Brandon and Ali, that for me, obviously, Erin, I saw him at the weekend. Looks phenomenal. But Brandon and Ali, because I'll be honest, there's only two guys who ever used to get me out of bed every morning in prep and like keep me focused was Jeremy Buendia and Brandon Hendrickson. They're the two guys who just niggling in my head all the time for me to be better. And I'll admit, Ali, this weekend, I got that same feeling, which he's now. So for me, I want to see Brandon and Ali go together, stood together, and see what the outcome is there. See what they're favourites, see what they're liking.
Ryan, do you think if Brandon brings a dry back, hits his poses, fronts lights out always, you think he can edge Ali with his overall shape and balance?
I do, yes. Like I say, I'm a fan of both of them, and I think Ali's going to dominate this sport in the future. Like I think he's going to be phenomenal. But I do think, like genetically, Brandon has a beautiful structure. I think he's not really weak in any areas, and it proves it. He's a 3 times Mr. Olympia. So I think if he was to, obviously, he's having to drop weight because he was like 8 pounds over the Olympia weight, for the men's physique. So I'm suspecting that's why I had the year out to try and drop and clean out that way. So it'll be interesting to see what he looks like in lesser weight. So obviously we haven't seen him at that, so it'll be interesting to see what that is.
But might be a more aesthetic, drier look.
But I've always looked at his physique and thought he's the one guy who can beat me at his best if I'm not at my best. Like that, there's certain people in my head, and he's always been one of them. So I like respect him, like his physique, and think, yeah, it's a nice physique that.
It's going to be a very exciting show, isn't it? Because we haven't seen Brandon on stage since 2023 Olympia, right?
Yeah.
It was a while ago, and obviously Ali's very different competitor now compared to
yes,
that.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So Ali didn't even place in that Olympia. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And all three of those guys have very different physiques as well. So
very different. I mean, all so different.
Michael, from a coach's perspective, do you, or from this is everybody to everybody, they're not just you, Michael, but do you feel because of obviously you saying it's 4 months since the Olympia to the Arnold's, do you think, and people are saying he's made improvements to his back, Ali, do you think he can then make even more improvements if you're in a deficit, if you're on prep for 6 months to get to the pits? Because I'll be honest, for me, I want Ali at his absolute best at the Olympia. Like people say to me, but if he's going to do all these shows, you think he won't be his best for the Olympia? And like, will that give you an advantage? I'm like, I don't want an advantage like that. That's not me as a person or as a competitor.
Well, I think he's got plenty of time. I mean, if he shuts it down right at the way I would look at it from a coach's standpoint, so he's going to do New York Pro, he says, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But then he wants to do Dubai as well.
So that's where I think when's going to be Dubai?
Dubai's July.
That's where I think he's going to mess up.
But do you think he can see improvements if you're in a deficit? If you're
no, I mean, how much? Yeah, you can refine his peak. How much better is it going to get?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said, that was the maxed out, his chest, fullness from the front, the detail in his back.
Yeah.
I don't think if he goes and actually doesn't shut it down after May, and this is what I would be saying to my athlete as a coach, I made Emmanuel sit down this whole year. He wanted to do pit. He wanted to come after the Arnold again. He wants these guys just like everyone else does. But I knew I couldn't bring up his legs, and I have a almost 11-pound gap for Emmanuel to fit into that he's off. I brought him down to 184 this year, even though he was bigger. And then the judges said his legs are bigger. Everything was more detailed. He's still 10 pounds away from where Ali is. So if I can put 10 pounds of lean muscle tissue on Emmanuel and the detail that he would have.
What's Ali's stage weight again?
It's the same as Emmanuel. They're both at the 194.
Right.
So he's maxed out, Ali. So how can he really put on that quality tissue with being – and he doesn't he does a lot of refeeds. You know, his body's on fire right now. I kind of know how he was eating into the show. I mean, he was eating multiple sushi refeeds every week.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's starving himself to death and not, you know,
but he
he's
looks healthy. He's held it well. He looks healthy, looks good, looks clean.
but he's depleting down up until July. It's not going to give him enough time to make significant improvements. I think if he was to win Pittsburgh and New York and shut it down, that's plenty of time because you can do a little clean out phase, which is going to be about 6 to 8 weeks. It should be anyway. Then he can actually do a grow phase without going overboard. But he's got a couple months to really grow tissue. 2 months, you can grow some tissue.
Yeah,
so
cool.
There's no way I could see him adding the Dubai Pro on his calendar. He's got Pittsburgh where Ty's the Mania show. He's got Steve Weinberger's show. They're the ones to create the most momentum going into Olympia, and of course being under his guidance.
I was going to say, that's what I was waiting for you to finish. Then I was like, but there's $100,000 at stake.
But is it 100 grand for the Open or is it 60 grand for men's physique?
Oh, I don't know. I was told because I was speaking to Ali about it, but Bada was trying to go for 100 for each class, whether that was allowed, but I don't know what was passed off.
That would be easily the most paid first prize, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if they're allowed to do that or what, to be more than Olympia or I'm not sure of.
Oh, you can do whatever you want. I mean, Arnold's trying to be more than Olympia. I mean, yeah. Technically, I don't know how happy the league would be with with promoters doing that, but listen, me thinking from a promoter standpoint too, right? I won't watch. I'll tell you right now, the first pro show I do, I'm gonna make sure my prize money is not like the other region, shows or in the area that is gonna attract the people.
Yeah, exactly.
Because look at 50 competitors doing that show last 2 years. I mean, it's because of the money.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
I know Ryan's got a shoot in a moment, so I just want to I know Matt, did you have a question for Ryan as well?
That's all right, carry on.
You're all right anyway. You can speak for below. You sound for below.
I was going to say, because let's just talk about Olympia a moment, because you're going to try and tie Brandon.
Whoa. Not going to try, Suga. Can't talk like that anymore. I will be tying it, yes.
Love that.
Ali's saying he's going to go 5 in a row. I mean, come on.
Exactly, yeah. But it's funny that because I was actually talking to Ali about that number 5, and he then goes and announces it. So I feel like he stole my thunder with that one. But yeah,
I'm glad you said that. But now I got my clip for the promo for this. I got what I needed.
No, don't start doing that, man. Don't start putting that stuff on for me. I'm a gentleman. I don't.
But no, going back to the point I was making. Like, you're in a unique scenario now where we all heard the saying, when your idols become your rivals. We know Ali said before as well that he's looked up to you when you started men's physique. And if we do look from the beginning, in our first era of men's physique, we are very much down to yourself, Brandon, and we're not going to forget about Jeremy because there is a chance that he could be back on stage. So let's say these are the core 3.
Yeah.
But of course, you're going to Olympia now with the next generation of men's physique superstars being led by
I think we're on the 3rd generation now, though, Suka. I think we're literally onto the 3rd block of people now, really. When we had like Raymond Edmonds coming into the 2nd phase and whatnot, and it was kind of like that kind of era. And then, like you say, Suki, and now they've brought the men's physique at the height to weight ratio on. For me, it would have been better for me if the height to weight ratio had come in earlier because it suits me a lot better. I'm at my max, and I was always struggling to make the gains what people are making every year because just genetically I'm not predisposed to be big. I do struggle to hold weight, but it's a weird one because each year I keep thinking, have I got it and all this kind of stuff. But I'm 36 years old, but I know I've been from the start. So people assume I'm a lot older. So every week now since I've won my 2nd title, I see Ryan's retiring this year. It's like headlines, and if he loses, he's done, and all this kind of. I'm like, oh, you won't be saying that to anybody else if they're coming in at 36 to do their first Olympia, because people look at muscle maturity. You look at Andre Ferguson, his 40s, all still competing at a high level. 3-4 years on from now, it's just because I've been around for so long. People assume I'm older than I am, but I love the sport. I live and breathe the sport. It's not just like a 12-week prep and I'm out. 24/7, it is who I am as I'm made up of bodybuilding and men's physique. I've done since I was 14. So whatever I'm enjoying it and it's not a chore and my kids aren't suffering and it's part of who I am, then I'll still keep doing it. I absolutely love it. And I I saw a forum where I'm first number one in the world, which was brilliant. And everyone's like, but you work from people doubting you and you work from like the shadows and stuff. So how are you going to get motivated to keep going back for the same title? Because if you look in the past, I only really go for the same, I never really go for the same title. I'm driven by getting stuff what I haven't achieved yet. So yeah, and people are saying like, how are you going to get motivated and stuff? And then I saw a forum saying I'm third best ever. And I'm like, third best ever. That doesn't sit very well with me. I can't.
That motivating alone, right?
You know what I mean? Because you've got Jeremy and Brandon obviously in front of me. So for me, that in itself drives me because I've got a target still to obviously reach.
This is a question that people want to, because I think they heard you say it and it could have came out the wrong way.
Yeah, yes, I know.
Yeah, if you lost this year, that you would retire.
I had a new videographer, so that was kind of off camera. It kind of got put on misinterpreted. That did. That was like, no, it was basically saying like, will I still feel the need to come back after a loss if I ever lost it to retain it? Because what more am I going to gain from keep going and trying to? Yes, I might be able to retain it another year, but in my head at this stage of my life now, I'm at that stage of my career, I set myself a goal of everything I wanted to achieve in my career. And I ticked that off in 2023 so I feel like I've got nothing left to prove to anybody else, but anything going on forward is just a bonus and I'm enjoying the process. So it kind of feels that's what I was trying to get at. That
you'd like that 2 more though, at least to get to Jeremy.
100%, 100%. And the thing is, what made me realize this weekend alone is like when I was sat there, I was getting like proper shivers down my spine, and I was getting so motivated and so revved up to train, the fire to train. I was like, that's not somebody who's ready to retire yet, who still has that fire. The people on stage driving me to go forward. And now Ali's now
losing would draw even more fire.
Yeah, and that's the problem I have, and that's something I may have to deal with.
Makes you champion, right?
Yeah, but it's something I might have to deal with in the future because when's enough? Because that unfortunately does drive me more than anything. So when people write me off, or if I'm in the trenches, or if I'm in in the shadows of people, like now at the minute, Ali's plastered everywhere. Whenever I turn my Instagram on, it's Ali. So that in itself, I've gone back to the gym today, which is probably stupid, but I haven't trained for 4 weeks because I've had stem cell treatment. I'm in a rehab phase. I'm trying to keep it quiet, but just seeing them on stage, I messaged my physios and my doctors. I was like, I'm sorry, no chance. I landed last day, started at 5 a.m. this morning. I've done all my core work, like I was ice bath, sun, everything no one will ever see on social media. But I've trained, upper body today, just on it like a bonnet, and that's what I needed. I needed to see that the weekend, and if I wasn't hungry for it and for the tiles I want, I wouldn't be doing this now. I know I wouldn't. So there's no chance. I've not worked 10 years in the industry, or 15 years in the industry, but 10 years going for that Olympia title just to walk away. No chance.
Are you still coaching yourself?
Yeah, coach myself, me, myself, and I. And it's funny because Ali came up to me after the show, and he came up to the stand to have a picture and obviously have a chat and whatever. And I've got to give it to Ali. Like, he's always shown me utmost respect, and he's a nice kid. So he was chatting away, and he was saying we couldn't be polar opposites when it comes to prep. And it was just so interesting to talk because he admits he's very needy. He wants to speak to his coach every day. He needs check-ins. He needs, and that's kind of where I think him and George Farray, he needed, I think, more guidance, which obviously Chris Aceto is happy to speak to him every day. Whereas I'm the opposite. I just need to be left alone and just let me get on with things. And
I was when I competed. I was better coaching myself during my pro career. For me, I didn't the first show, but to me, it was just I had a problem trusting people, I guess, and knowing and being, a bodybuilder prior to being a men's physique pro. I competed for so long and was in the industry for so long that for me, I had to not have any second guesses and just had to go with my gut. And I always felt that was the proper way, even though, I definitely missed some peaks, but
that's kind of, so I'll be honest. So the first time, so since 2021, I've prepped myself and I've won Arnold Classic title, New York Pro, won 2 Olympia titles, prepping myself. I nearly came unstuck at this past Olympia. I think we spoke about it before.
Yeah,
I've not, I can't really look back at those videos, pictures, and stuff because I was exactly where I wanted to be. I trained like a motherfucker. Like I did my ice attention every morning, 30 minutes for 8 weeks out. I went back on a third session every night doing my posing practice, and everything was on point. I was like, this is brilliant. Because I've never had to make weight before, and I was so obsessed, I became, and I've never weighed myself in previous shows because I never needed to. So I was never driven by the weight. I was always just what I looked like in the mirror and how I pumped up and my fatigue and all that kind of stuff. So when weight came into it, I became obsessed with the scale to the point where I couldn't get under my stage weight. And I was like, normally I'm at like 198, 200 on stage. I was sat at 208. Steve's like, you ready? When I was in New York, I was like, I
Your
know
weight
what,
cap's 202, right?
202. And I'm like, I'm 208, like peeled. I'm thinking, how do I get this off? So I just became so obsessed with it to the point where the day before the weigh-in, I literally starved myself like to make weight.
Stayed fasted.
And I didn't have anyone to talk, like to just feed off. So I was making it up as I went along. So when I weighed in, we went down, and obviously Classic went over way over. So we're about 3 hours over check-ins, and I dropped from 202 to 198. So I dropped way under, just being sat there. But I was nearly going into a hyperglycemic shock because I didn't dare to take anything, because when I left my hotel, I was 202. So I didn't even dare to take a bit of nut butter or anything. I was like, because I'm prepping myself. So maybe that is a little downfall when you do prep yourself, that you don't have that second pair of eyes. And I've never needed it up until last year. And what I did after that, because I was so depleted and so like, shit, I'm at 197, I'm probably the lowest I've ever been. I started to overfeed, which on the day, if you look back at footage,
your abs were a little.
Yeah, my mid set, I couldn't believe it because I was back.
And I'll be honest with you. When you walked out, I was like, obviously I'm wanting Emmanuel to get up the ladder, right? So I'm like, he's a little off. I'm like, this is a window. And I'm looking around. I'm like, does anyone, I'm trying to point it out. And
but the thing, what I did though, Michael,
finals,
I remember as well. So on the day, I walked out. So when you do when you just come out and showcase what you are, then you walk off, then you do your single rounds. I knew I was on last, and there was 70 odd competitors. So I was like, don't even touch the weight. So I glazed up and walked out on stage, and I didn't pump up, didn't do one press up, didn't do anything. And I walked off, and my wife messaged me, can I see you? Can I see you? I was like, yeah, of course you can. So she came out and says, went, is everything all right? What's wrong? And she was like, you're just not popping. Have you pumped up okay and stuff? I was like, oh, I'm glad you've noticed that because I haven't actually done anything. She was like, make sure you do. I was like,
when you came back the second round, you were, I think what happened, but I could probably tell you what happened is if you didn't pump up, you probably weren't processing everything and hardening up. Because when you came out the second time, your abs actually came back in.
Yeah, the thing
kind of looked harder and fuller.
But you know what I did though, Matt? I don't know if anything happened. Sorry, guys, just between. But what normally happens with me, if I overcarb or if I fill up too much, because my midsection is one of my stronger muscle parts and dominant, it fills up. The moment I start pumping up and tensing backstage, it fills up. So if I'm not careful, it swells and it can start as the comparisons go on stage. All the blood's there in my midsection, so it starts to swell. So I try and stay off it. But what happened at the Olympia through pre-judging and in final? Because I'd overate, as soon as I hit it, just blew up and I couldn't crunch down. So I'm fidgeting. And even George Farron, people coming backstage going, why do you keep moving? And I kept like fidgeting, getting back in because I couldn't crunch my abs. And I was like, as if for 8 weeks, I've crunched these perfect. And on the day of the Olympia, and it's the first thing what really went wrong for me in any of my preps before. So it was like you got straight first, you won, but I'm like, my abs look shit. Not happy.
That's the crazy thing, though, isn't it? It's just that one extra variable that's come into play, and it can completely
throw off the whole look. Yeah,
throw off very easily. And that's the thing when it comes to weight caps. I'm sure you've got it, Mike, as well with the Classic Physique guys. You've had it for years. When you've got to try and make a weight cap, it is very, very difficult, and it can play with your head massively. So,
of course.
But now that you know that, you can take that information into this year, right? And you've got a much stronger game plan, and you know what you're going to do, right?
Yeah, because that's the thing. I know everything down, and I always make minor changes every prep. So there's not a huge difference when I go back. I only make minor changes just in case something doesn't work. But that was a minor change. It was me just getting in my own head. It was inexperience. I'll put my hands up to it. And then, you live and learn, don't you?
Now since you are a guy that's going to struggle with the weight cap, and which is good because you want to be maxed out. It looks like every guy, like Erin, you, and Ali, all you guys are at your weight caps maxed out and have to really watch your weight. Where Emmanuel, who's another top 4 guy, that he's got all that room. So we're trying to look bigger, in which sometimes then you can get a little waterier and all that stuff. But now that you know that you're probably going to have to fast again to make that weight cap, what would you do differently exactly to make sure? Would you slow down the food maybe, or not eat as much that morning? Was it what you did the night before that carried over, you feel?
Yeah, I think, like I say, I rushed the process because I dropped so low. And again, I should have learned from previous preps because a few years back, I did a similar thing where I did a photo shoot the day 2 days before, and he put me through my paces per Bernal, like a photographer who really makes you work. And I was so depleted that I had to start filling up massively. And I was with a coach at the time, and we were literally against the grain trying to fill up. And I remember going to sleep on the Olympia Eve, and I had this belly out here, veins all over it. But because we were smashing white potato just to try and fill back up, and he went, "Don't worry, in the morning it'll be settled." And luckily, he knew what he was on about because it did. It was all gone, and I was sound. So this time around, I'll just have a bit of trust in myself that I knew how my body reacted by fasting that long, so I probably wouldn't do as much, and just take my time with the carb, not panic, because I was just thinking, wow, I've got to put 5-6 pounds back on. And with my metabolism, to put that weight back on, I don't even think I went on stage at 202 in the end, because everything I ate was just going through me, metabolism through the roof, but it did sit heavy in my stomach. So these are things I just, like variables I just need to factor in, I think. But luckily, we are fortunate that you're weighing on the Thursday. We're not on till Saturday. Yeah. So you've got time, whereas I didn't look at that time. I was like, shit, we've got like less than 48 hours. Let's go.
So another bonus and benefit that you got, Ryan, is obviously you don't need to qualify for Olympia. You've just got that one show to aim for. So what I do with a lot of my guys, and Mike, I'm sure they're the same, is you get ready early, you can practice it. You can practice the peak, and then you know exactly what to do on the real thing, which I'm sure you're going to do. And we're all looking forward to that, because you still won the Olympia title and you wasn't at your best.
So this is my take home from the last Olympia. When people talk to me, I think at the end of the day, we got straight first and I won. And that's not going to be the same case with Ali coming in, because he's got a lot more momentum. They are going to be looking at more closely at us. But at the same time, I know what I did wrong. That 10% and that 15% can be easily corrected. It's not something where I'm lagging a massive muscle part and I'm going to have to really dial on that. It's just my peaking better. There are points I need to bring up. Sorry, I'm not going to say I'm perfect. My arms need to come up. There's certain areas that do need to come up, but where am I going to sacrifice in order for them to come up? Because, like I say, I'm at 202 now. I can't come off. So,
do you think? No, I've been obviously I've been studying you for many years, and for the last 10 years. One thing I did notice the first year you won, right? Think about this. And I talk about this with Cuts and my close friends. I'm like, all right, here's the way I looked at Ali's first Olympia. Ryan. He comes into Pittsburgh, right? Little off, weren't your best, right? There's your first show of the year.
A lot of problems with that, by the way.
We're in the back. We were talking briefly. I knew you. Looking at you, I was like, Corey, like, you probably going to get. I knew right back then, just you weren't your crisp.
I was in a bad way that way. Yeah.
So then you go into New York, right? And you nail it.
Yeah.
You win that. You come to Olympia, you nail it. That's 3 shows. Do you think maybe because you only did 1 show that year, that could have maybe if you had to warm up?
So I agree. Yeah. So I feel I was at my best. I made so much improvements in that first year. I went on 6 pounds heavier. Bear in mind, every year I'm probably 2 pounds, if that, heavier. I always struggled to. That year, and Tyler was shocked because he knew my stage weight from the New York when we was testing it, and I was at like 197 or something. But when we come in for that Olympia, I was a lot heavier. I was 6 pounds heavier, and
6 pounds all in your back, I think.
Yeah, probably. But everything felt right. Like, everything felt good, and everything felt, because I knew even my posing, I wasn't rusty on my posing, everything, because like I said, I did it 6 months prior. I would have loved to have competed this year, if I'm honest. But certain people obviously getting advice from people and stuff, and it's like there's a lot of risk and no reward, because people expect you to win these shows now. You're Mr. Olympia, #1 in the world. So you're going in, and if you lose, you're losing that one momentum, that big momentum you've got. And why don't make the improvements and have this off season? So I want to be I hate it. I love prepping. I love I'm more productive when I'm in prep. So in businesses, my family, I allocate all my time because I'm more productive, because I'm restricted and I have to be doing these for my prep.
Yeah.
So I like being in prep, but at the same time, the only thing my focus is to set a legacy for myself now, which is getting my Olympia titles. But I agree. I do feel, yeah, you could be better doing more shows. Definitely.
So for your body, you felt like those runs have helped you just keep improving.
Yeah.
Because this year, right? This year is probably one of the first ones where you've got. I mean, I love Ali Bilal as well. I think he's got a fantastic physique, but and he's very confident. This is every interview he's saying he's going to win the Olympia. He is on stage multiple times in front of the judges who are going to be at the Olympia. You always tell me about UK competitors. Get in front of the judges who'll be judging at Olympia. So
Yeah.
not only is this guy going to have this, he's a favorite going to Pittsburgh and New York, let's call it.
Yeah, of course he is. Yeah.
He is second place for Olympia. He's in front of the judges. He is constantly putting out there, I'm going to win Olympia, win Olympia. We saw the RX Muscle interview. Even other people are saying it as well.
Yeah.
How this is the first time we actually got someone being that vocal on socials and interviews, putting out there.
Yeah.
How do you handle that then,
There's
knowing
two,
that next time everyone see you, you'll be on stage at the Olympia next to him?
there's two things you look at that. So when I said to you, things like that drive me. So in that year, I look at the fact that Ali's Pittsburgh Pro Champion, New York Pro Champion, second in the world, Arnold Classic Champion, very possibly Pittsburgh, New York. That is a flawless run. You can't have somebody going into that Olympia more credited than that would be. That would be phenomenal. And if he's at his best, all I look at that is if I was to beat him at his best, that solidifies for me. And that's all I need to know. Solidifies for me that I'm better, that I'm number one, I'm worth being number one. So that I don't want him to not have all that, if you know what I mean. It's hard to sit on the sidelines and be quiet, but I'm not somebody who has to talk on social media. Like I've never been that type of guy. I've got too much. I've got two kids. I've got too many things going on in my life to.
Well, that's why you're a great champion.
Yeah, that's not who I am as a person. So when people say, "Oh, you're not worried about this," I'm not worried about it. I want him to be at his best. Like that for me makes me a better person. Like makes me a better physique competitor. So and if I'm honest, what last year I probably didn't take Ali as serious as I probably should have done because Brandon was always my driving force. So when he backed out of that Olympia, maybe that was one of the things, Michael, because he has always been my driving force. Because me and Brandon were always, when I was placing second at Olympia, he was fourth and fifth. When I was winning the Arnold, he was fourth and fifth. So he was always in my peripheral. He was always there. When I had my hip surgery in 2018, I was out for 6 months. I got smaller and I was on crutches. Brandon wins his first Olympia. And I was like, that should have been mine, because at the time I was.
Yeah, you took off.
So ever since that, he's been my driving force because it took a lot longer. It took me 5 or 6 years, 5 years.
2017, you won the Arnold, then took second.
18, yeah, so 2018. No, so 2018 he won the Olympia. So since then, I've been chasing him. I've been trying to get back up to where I should have been. So in 2023, I achieved that. That took 5 years, way longer than I wanted to. So when he wasn't in that Olympia, when he announced he wasn't in Olympia, I did feel this like he's the one who drives me. So I got that same feeling from Ali this year. So I don't see it as a negative. I see
now
that.
You got Brandon back too. I mean, why isn't Brandon looked at? Everyone said, Ali's the favorite Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
People forget, Brandon's a 3-time Olympia champion. Brandon is an Arnold champion.
Exactly.
And Ali's never beat Brandon.
So for me,
this
is why. But this is the power of social media and the power of our industry because you're soon forgotten. Like everybody's talking like Ali's beat me already and stuff. But at the time when I was winning the Olympia, you're the be all and end all because you're the hype at that time. So you kind of just have to sit back. And I think Brandon's good at that. He just sits there working in, doing his job, doing his things. He's not going to come off. He's going to be at his best in Pittsburgh, and he wants to make a statement. He's doing the rounds before the Olympia, so he wants that momentum and stuff because he's had a year out. He needs to get that back. So I think
Brandon beats Ali. What does that say? What happens now?
So again, people ask me that because that's a good question because that then
it could happen. He's beat him twice already.
Yeah. But then it adds that dynamic of 3 people now. It's not just a front runner of Ali coming for me. It adds that dynamic. I liked it when you had Jeremy Buendia coming back, you had Erin Banks and Brandon Hendricks with the 3 Bs, and they put this big thing around it. And I remember we was in Florida when I won it. And I was
had everybody in that one.
The thing is, but I was training. Yeah, I did. Yeah, there was like 8 Olympia titles or something. But when I was training, everybody just nodded to me. But the hype and everything was on those 3 in the gym, and all the press and everybody was interviewing I was getting the odd nod because everyone had wrote me off. I was 7th in the world the year before. So I
I
wasn't.
actually had you to win the Olympia after seeing you at New York Pro. So I'm the only one that picked you.
You're just saying that.
Well, I mean, of course,
Go on.
I wanted Emmanuel, of
Yeah,
course.
of course.
But I even told Emmanuel, I said, man, after looking at Ryan, and everyone knows this, I've said it on Men's Physique News plenty of times. I was like, I just feel like he's going to win it this year.
But you
His
know, like
momentum.
the whole thing with the Pittsburgh thing, like it was a personal thing. But my wife was pregnant at the time, and she ended up in hospital when I landed at Pittsburgh. So I was trying to get a flight back like the day before that Pittsburgh show. Obviously, I didn't want to highlight all this because you don't want to make excuses at the time and stuff. But I didn't even get my tan on. So if you notice, my tan was terrible. And I actually highlight. I said pre because I managed to get on. Yeah, because I was Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I had prejudging. You look white.
I didn't even get a full shave. I was literally like this on the phone trying to get a flight home, and I'm ringing her because it was the middle of the night at home, and she's rushed into hospital thinking we're going to lose our second child. So I was like, "What fucking want to be here competing?" Like, so I'm trying to get home, and then they said, "Look, she's okay," and I was like, "I'm going to get the next flight." And he was like, "You can't. You've died till this time." So I'm fine. Your family's here, my family's here, all that kind of stuff. So it was then gave me the green light, a bit like a Rocky thing, you know, when she's at the side of the bed and she goes, "Win." So it was like after Pittsburgh, I was on a mission. That week was like, right, it's redemption. So I was gutted when Corey didn't go into New York. I was like, no, I've got to wait to the that's going to be 6 months of waiting. But I'll tell one fact though. I don't know if this might be wrong, but I was trying to work out. That's technically two, but there's one person. I'll tell them both. But since I've competed since 2013, there's one person who I've never beat. Do you know who that is?
Hold on.
The whole of Men's Physique.
One person, Andre Ferguson.
No.
What, he's still competing now?
I'll tell you, it's technically Sadiq Hadzovic.
Oh.
So because we only went toe to toe in 2015 in my rookie year, my pro year. So when I placed fourth at the Olympia, he obviously placed second. But in 2016, he moved into Classic. So we never went against each other after that. And that is bothered me so much. I'm not going to lie, like because I can hand on heart. Everybody
he was supposed to do that Olympia when everyone and he pulled out. Yeah.
But since 2000, that's not bad for me. Since 2015 or 13, since I've been competing, but 15 as a pro at the Olympia. I beat every single one. That's what I have to keep telling myself. There's Andre Diu, who's going to be in this year.
Yeah.
We've not gone toe to toe yet. So that should be interesting. But yeah, I thought that was quite a nice fact, that was. And that's why I just have to keep telling myself.
I think he's gone back to Classic now as well, hasn't he? You'll have to go to Classic, Ryan, to beat him.
No,
Sadiq.
Sadiq's gone up. Yeah, Sadiq's gone up. I was trying to entice him back down just so I can eradicate that off my list.
Before we wrap this up, let me throw this fairy tale ending for you, Ryan.
Go on then.
2027, Olympia.
Yeah.
You secure number 5. You create history as the most Olympia titles for men's physique competitor. Would you then consider, for one show only, doing a C-bomb, doing what a lot of guys say, swap the board shorts for some Classic Physique trunks and step on stage in Classic Physique?
Honestly,
and you can max out too.
I would absolutely love that. Yeah, because my legs are one of my stronger muscle parts, to be honest. Like I was always obsessed with my legs. Like I've trained with 3 times Mr. Universe in the super heavyweights for most of my career. Like for 15 years of my 22-year training, I trained with super heavyweights. So that's all I've ever known. And it was always about symmetry, aesthetics. So when Men's Physique came out, it was only ever a stepping stone, if I'm honest, to it wasn't Classic Physique at the time. It was classic bodybuilding. This is what I'm talking way back when, before all this came out, before Classic Physique came out. So I was working towards that. And I remember speaking to Jim when he told me about the Classic Physique coming out. I was like, I'm in. And then he raised it £5 on the announcement. I was like, okay, that's I struggled to get to that, but we'll see. And then when the first show arrived, it was an extra £5 on top of that. I was like, I'm way out of that one. That's £10 a month.
What would be your height cap?
I'm 178 centimeters, so I don't know what that is in weight.
About 5 kilos more, I think, isn't it? Roughly.
Close to 10 pounds difference.
For £10. Is that
Yeah.
So 202, so I could be 212.
Around there, yeah.
So I was maxed out at 208. Me and Steve were looking. He's like, if you could bring
way far off from that.
Yeah. You can't carve up a little bit more.
Did any of you guys watch the Arnold this past weekend? Mike Summerfeld. Have you seen the stats of that kid? He's borderline
See, to
bodybuilder.
me, Mike Sommerfeld is so 212 that,
Yeah, yeah.
and I loved, Logan's a dear friend of mine, and
Awesome. Yeah.
to see him up there and nail that
Getting
peak
recognised.
finally it was emotional for me watching that.
Yeah, he looked phenomenal. It was
Yeah,
good to see he's getting recognised now because he is epitome of classic. So, like when you look at
I've always thought that.
classic,
Yeah, he was my training partner. He lived with me for a year, worked for me in one of my gyms. So
nice.
I've been since he won his since he did his first pro show. So I was close to Logan.
So were you prepping him when he competed against me in men's physique in Pittsburgh?
No, I never prepped Logan. I just worked out and trained with him because he worked for me, and I was kind of like managing him and stuff like that with a guy named Joey. And I was more into that stuff. I was working with Jeremy and on his websites and doing his training, his online training. So that was kind of before I really got back into coaching. I wanted to compete as a pro myself for a couple of years. Yeah. And then when I was like, all right, that's done with, I wanted the IFBB pro card and all that. And I knew I was just competing to get the understanding of how to coach men's physique at a high level. That's the only reason why I went and got my pro card. Was be able to really understand the posing and feeling it and being able to transparency with the guys. So Logan, I think he just brings that upper body a little more, man, and just a little more size. He's got a lot of room in that gap still.
Yeah. His condition was unreal, wasn't it? His posing.
In person, it was when he came out, it was just everybody in the crowd just knew he was going to be in the mix. It just was that good.
Ryan, what's your classic posing like?
With this hip, probably terrible now.
Did you get a hip surgery? Did you get a resurface?
So I tore the labrum in 2018. So I've had 3 hip surgeries now. So I've had one where they've had to shave and shape the bone, one where they've had to stitch the labrum. Now the cartilage has gone on one side from the stitch, so the bone's touching bone now. That's where I'm getting most of my pain. But the last one, I had a bone spur as well, so I had to go back here.
I had the same exact thing. So I went and just got the whole hip replaced, and I feel, oh my God, like I can run now. I can train legs like crazy now, and I was scared to do it because I'm thinking, oh my God, a metal thing in my. First they recommended the hip surface and all that. I was like, nah, I'm gonna wait. I got the hip surgery done. I waited 7 years, and I can't tell you how much better I feel. It's insane.
If obviously if I wasn't going for the Olympia, I would have done it. I've done the stem cell. I went to Colombia and I did everything because my knees. I've got no cartilage in my knees now under my patellas. I've got a snapped right ACL. I've got a labrum tear in the right hip, and obviously.
How are you doing your cardio? What is the right like? How are you?
That's what I'm doing. Michael, very painful. And after every cardio session, I have to get in the ice bath to bring the inflammation down. But
fair play though, Ryan, because it doesn't look like it's affected your leg development at all. Like
or conditioning.
But I do a lot of ice attention. I do an hour cardio every day, but I do a lot of ice attention to bring my conditioning because I'm more restricted on.
Now, how much cardio are you doing closer to the show with being depleted and all that, where your tendons are hurting you more? Are you back in the cardio, relying on food more?
No. So I'm the opposite. I always want to keep as much food in as I can. So I start 30 minutes, 16 weeks out, and then I roughly go to about 45 minutes around the 12 weeks, and then by 8 weeks I'm at 60 minutes. But then I do 30 minutes core, so it's like a lot of ice attention and like core work, like plyometric work, and then posing after that. So around an hour and 45, 2 hours in the morning before my first meal.
It's an hour cardio, but you're adding the posing and the plyometric core training.
And I try and keep as much food in as I can. And it normally gets to around the 6-week mark where I have to then start eating into food, like when my weight plateaus. And it's when I've done as much as I can now. I need to start taking food away. But that's kind of how I've always done it, really. But I probably I probably made it a lot harder for myself because even in my off season, I was always doing a lot of cardio and because I just wanted to be lean. I wasn't bothered about size. I wanted to be lean. I enjoyed doing sports so I was always fighting against it, doing a lot of high intensity stuff. So when I come to diet, I'm like, I need to do at least an hour to get that same.
How far do you stay off your around your weight cap? Do you normally stay off the percentage?
So I normally sit at 228, so around 26 pounds, something like that. But now because I've had this stem cell, I'm eating clean, but I'm just not forcing it. Up until today, after the Arnold'S, I'm forcing it, but I need to get my weight back on. But I dread to think what I am at the minute. My wife actually went, "Looks like you're dieting. Your diet face has come back. Your cheeks are coming in." I was like, "Oh shit, that's not good." Off season diet face. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Just to confirm, sorry, did Ryan say he's going to do classic physique? Because that question seems so funny. I'm there like,
He's
wait,
looking
so
for a hook.
He's just looking for his clickbait, isn't he? That's all he is.
is he going to do classic? What would you do a classic show?
Never say never. Never say never.
I think what does it hurt? I think you'd look nasty in it.
The problem for me though is like I want to be the best. So like I wouldn't be able to just do one show and walk away. I'd be like, right, where's my weaknesses? What am I shit at? What do I need to improve on? I've got 3 years to win the Olympia, and then it sends me off on a whole new direction. So I don't know if I could do something for fun. Like I respect that massively from Chris. Like he's very in touch with that. What's the word? Like cut off, devoid. He knows. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. That's why me and Chris are friends because he understands like how I work, and he's introduced me to a lot of his circles who help him ground in the fact that like what's after this and what trying to compartmentalize a lot of things, whereas I'm chaos and I just need to be the better and I'm not present enough. That's my problem. I'm never taking in, looking at all these achievements and taking them in, being proud of it. I'm like, what's the next thing? What's the next
Have
thing?
you thought about the next step? And I hate to think about something like that because it could be,
Yeah.
But have you sat and thought
Olympia.
about, with the gym opening and now you have a business? Do you plan on opening more gyms?
I've had multiple. I've got 5 now. I've just sold them, so I've got 5 businesses. So I have enough on anyway with all that. But this is my hobby. Obviously, it's my job. It's my main job. But this is the thing I take massive enjoyment from. My business is successful and they do great and they keep me busy. But this is what gets me up in the morning. I live and love and breathe this. So that is going to be hard. I must admit. And that's one of the things my wife is worried about. Amy's talked to me about like when that time comes, like, do you not want to pre-prepare that? Like, what is going to fill this competitive void? Because you've set all these businesses up thinking that was going to take your attention away from it, but it hasn't even scratched the surface with it. No, it's not the same thing. I enjoy making money. And all my businesses are in completely different fields. Like they're like in real estate and healthcare, all different things. Just so then I can, my mind's on different things, but it still doesn't fulfill my competitive side of me. So that is something I need to deal with. But at the minute, I'm channeling it into being the best ever men's physique guy in the world. But there comes a time where I need to channel that into something.
We're going to see Ryan do CrossFit or High Rocks now.
Or bowls. We'll do bowls. Anything. Yeah, we will.
Hey, there's always a Masters Olympia, like I said.
No,
that's why I think, and you do have a show, right? You do have the Ryan Terry Classic.
Yeah, I've held off this year just because of just so much. So I'm trying to immerse myself
in one show is a lot of work. I've realized.
Yeah, and I did it with an expo attached to it and everything. So it was our British final, so like the nationals. But I had like vendors. I flew Kai Green, Phil Heath over. It was massive, but I wanted to give back to British bodybuilding, which I want to do anyway. And that was my 10-year mark. That was me since winning my pro card in 2013 when I did that show. So I went all out on it, and I was prepared to lose money because it wasn't a money-making thing for me.
You always did the first show.
Yeah, so I was prepared for that, but the amount of what it took out of me was like, can I do that?
Can you see you continuing that after competing?
Possibly, yeah, possibly. But if I'm honest, as much free time as I can get, I'm plowing it into my kids now. So that's kind of where my focus is now. So it's whether I need to take any more, I don't know. But that's something we're not talking about yet because I am not retiring. Put that on as your clickbait. I am not.
No.
All right, guys.
I don't think this year is going to go any different than last year. I think you're still the guy to beat, man. I think we all think that, especially the guys in our community, in our circle with the top coaches and competitors. We all talk. You're still the guy to beat, man. And everybody knows that when you're on and you're sharp, and just the overall balance, look, the detail in the back, the way I've never seen a back change like yours.
Yeah.
That drastically.
Yeah.
And everybody notices that. You're not going to be easy to dethrone when it happens. It's not gonna take this guy Ali or Emmanuel or even Erin to come back. It's not gonna take maybe one shot. I think you're gonna be here for a couple more years.
Appreciate it. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I do. We all think that. Listen, we all want to catch you, and all the competitors want to catch you, but also it's refreshing to have a champion that's professional. That's has got a good mind. Is all about uplifting people and knows how to speak well and not put people down, even though they're confident. And that's what I think we appreciate the most from you.
Thank you. That's what I was going to go on to next. Like, it's not just the physical attributes that you've got and you've built over these years. It is the mindset you've got going into it as well. Like like so many competitors can be their own worst enemy and shoot themselves in the foot just with their mindset. But yeah, you've just got a champion mindset, mate. And it really shows through. I think everyone can see that as well. So that's why I think you're so popular in the sport as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. The one thing I'm very wary of, or very aware of, sorry, is that I don't want to be that guy where I'm stuck. I'm just hanging on. Like, where it's like, yeah, he's a good champion, but please, like, we need somebody else now. I don't want to be that guy. So I need to know when to bow out. I feel like I'm not at that stage yet. There's still things to achieve. So that's what drives me. I definitely won't be. I want to go out on top if that's so. Leave it at that. But we're not ready just yet. But yeah,
it's going to be an honor to dethrone you. That's my goal.
Yeah. 3 years.
Well, look,
Listen, I said I'll retire when Emmanuel wins the Olympia.
Okay. Well, look, he's got the potential. He's got the potential. So he just needs, like, say, grow into it. So I'll bow out.
He's getting there. I think we'll close that 10-pound gap about 7 pounds this year. So he'll be about 3, I think, estimating the way it's going. Yeah. But, he's now needs that maturity and detail, and that takes a little bit to refine that once the muscle's built. And it's a process. And that's why guys aren't successful in the sport, because they try to cheat the process.
Yeah, this is the thing is when you
accept 10 years.
It's a lifestyle. Yeah, but it's a lifestyle as well, because I've been doing it 22 years. Like, I've been training 22 years, and I did it way before I ever thought I was stepping on stage. I did it for the love of being a bodybuilder, but men's physique and the lifestyle it gave me, as in that structure it gave me and everything, pushing my body to its limits. So I think a lot of people now see it as that they see something like myself as whatever. I want that, and I want it in 2 years. Which it's a process. It takes time. It does.
Well, take a lot of time. You doing the way you did, though, has, I think, been really beneficial to everyone else looking at that.
Yeah,
because that's not the norm. It's like when Jeremy came out, was number 2 against Mark Anthony. It's like everybody knew he was coming next.
Yeah, he was next.
It was like, so with you, it's like, oh, he looks great. He's got a great front shot, right? He's a good looking guy, but
back,
it was that for so many years, like you knocking on the door, but now it's like everybody's trying to fight to get in that door, so
it's staying well shut for a bit.
Well, look,
good English there, well shut.
There is no doubt that the men's physique division right now, 2025, is absolute popping. Return of Brandon Hendrickson is only a good thing for the division. Aaron Banks obviously aiming for 2 Olympia titles. Ryan going for 3. Brandon going 4. Jeremy Buendia is still in the picture. And of course, for new blood in Ali Bilal. And of course, returning competitors. So that's what makes the Olympia 2025 so exciting. Yes, people are talking about Hardy versus Derek versus Samson in Open. Classic, who's going to take it from C-Bomb. Men's physique is equally as hot. And
you got the same story.
Yeah, we have
the same story. You got Banks, you got Brandon, and now you got Ryan. Yeah, just like you got Hadi, Samson, and Derek. So this year is going to be insane.
It is. But he's got me out of bed this morning at 5 o'clock to get some cardio done in my off season. So it must be working.
Right. You told me that you were going to be done by 3, and now it's 3:40. So
I know my wife texted me off I'm going to go and pick the kids up, babe. I was like, okay.
Sorry.
I was on the school run.
All right. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.